The series is on the line on the fourth day of the fourth test. It's at the Ageas Bowl. The key number right now is 233. How much further will England extend that? What would India like to chase? And where is this game headed? This is ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. Welcome to the pre-show. I am Ranu Kapoor with Ajit Agarkar. Big day in the series today.
Huge day for India. I mean, obviously England would want to try and win this and seal the series and not be under pressure at Oval. You'd rather be in England's shoes than India's at the moment. Although I don't think 233 is quite enough for a winning total. It's still a good score.
Okay, we'll be also getting Nick Compton very shortly. But Melinda Farrell also waiting outside the Ageas Bowl. Good to see you, Mel. Again, bright sunny day, not a cloud in what we saw in early pictures at the Ageas Bowl. You go with Ajit that England would have been the happier team overnight?
Well, yeah, they've certainly woken up to another incredible day. I mean, it's the second day of autumn. You wouldn't think it. This incredible summer just continues on here, and it's glorious today. So another huge day of cricket. I think England may be slightly happier. They're sleeping out here at the moment. They're staying in the Hilton Hotel that actually adjoins here. So they basically roll out of bed and come out here. I reckon they probably slept reasonably well last night. It's really hard to say. I'm reminded, it feels a bit like the Edgbaston test, going into sort of the fourth day and feeling like pretty much anything's impossible. It's a situation that could be in the fourth innings yet again made for a great Pujara and Kohli partnership. But England showed at Edgbaston they were able to defend a pretty modest total in the fourth innings chase from India. So they might take a bit of confidence in that. Good to have runs on the board. Let's see what those footmarks do.
Okay, let's go to Nick Compton, who's also joining us now. I'm sure he had a good night's sleep, Nick. But England 233 ahead. I think the general sense overnight has been that they are the happier team. But are they comfortable, or will every run now be worth its weight in gold? If they get another 20, 30, 40, could that very well be the difference?
Yeah, run's very important to put pressure on India in the last innings. But for me, it's all about the new ball bowlers. Can the new ball pairing of Bumrah and Ishan get some couple of early wickets, really finish off England's tail now and get batting as soon as possible? And likewise, when England get the ball, can the experienced campaigners of Anderson and Broad, can they really get out there and restrict India, get a couple of early wickets and put the nail in the coffin there? So I think it's about the new ball bowling this morning. I think it's going to be exciting stuff. I'd love to see this run chase. I'm really looking forward to seeing how the spinners respond to what's going to be a lot of pressure for them.
I like the point Nick makes. Let's leave the conversation of what's going to happen with these last two wickets of England aside, but it's been harder work for India's bowlers in this innings. This pitch is slowing down. How confident or sure are you, if you're Joe Root, about your own bowling, given they don't have the pace or the zip that India do? What's the number that you'd be more confident assessing England's bowling?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I said 250 would be a total that might be beyond India. I'm not so sure. I mean, the pitch is quite slow. Again, it'll help if Ben Stokes can have a bowl in that second innings a bit more than he did in that first innings, because he could actually impact the game. Edgbaston were completely different conditions, so you thought a low score was defendable. Here, England would want to get as many as they can. I think at least 250. I know it's only 17 runs away, but psychologically sometimes it makes a difference. Yeah, look, I still don't think it's a winning total, this 233. I think India would be quietly, not confident, but they would still think they can chase this. I think England would need at least 25-30 more, ideally, if they can. That would make India, worry a little bit more than they are at the moment.
Nick, would you go with that this number's suddenly been pushed up just a bit, looking at how slow the pitch played yesterday and the fact, of course, that India's batsmen are looking a lot better than they did in Edgbaston?
Yeah, potentially. I agree with Ajit there. I think he makes a good point. I think anything above 260, I think it's pretty much in England's hands, I would say. But again, it comes back to the bowling. It's about the experienced campaigners, the likes of Broad and Anderson. Can they produce the good when it matters most? Great teams play well when their experienced players, their best players, play well and perform when it matters most. And I suppose you look at India, it's the likes of Kohli, Pujara, Rahane, these type of guys. Can they get a score on the final day? And can Anderson and Broad get those early wickets? I think it's going to be a fascinating day of cricket. But I'd say at the moment, you'd definitely be happier with a score on the board. But the wicket is quite slow. And I think it's going to be a challenge if you don't get wickets early.
Right, we have to focus again on the last session of play yesterday because it might well turn out to be the pivotal session if this game goes England's way. Cheteshwar Pujara and Jos Buttler reflected on it at the end of day yesterday.
I don't think he had a bad day. He didn't get too many wickets, but he still kept on bowling in the right areas. Sometimes as a bowler you do have such days when you're bowling well, but you might not end up picking too many wickets. So someone like him, I think he's a clever bowler, and he has done really well for us throughout the domestic season and even overseas. So I don't think he has bowled badly at all.
They obviously have their differences. Moeen, sometimes can bowls a bit faster, I think, a bit flatter. Ravi Ashwin tends to mix up his paces quite a lot. They're both fantastic bowlers, so I think it was a hard battle for obviously the left-handers. It looked especially tough when Ashwin bowled over the wicket into that large rough. We obviously saw him beat the bat quite a lot, so it's promising signs for us moving forward and into tomorrow.
So in some ways, Cheteshwar Pujara and Jos Buttler giving R. Ashwin almost a little benefit of doubt or defending him. I'm reading all the literature on the game overnight, strong words of how important that session was, and Ashwin was a key cog and sort of let himself down with the standards that he tends to set for himself. Is there a sense that we're being too kind on R. Ashwin? I heard even Ravi Shastri this morning say you can't expect wickets every ball. Was that?
Yeah, but I think that was more for Ashwin. That's what exactly the coach said. You need to be patient. Like when you're batting, you need to be patient as a bowler as well. And I don't think he was as patient as he should have been yesterday. I think maybe Moeen's 5 wickets, maybe the pressure of actually having a pitch which is helping spin to bowl on, made him try that much harder to get wickets instead of just doing the basics right. And yeah, he had a tough day. I mean, Pujara is not going to come out and say he had a tough day. He's obviously going to support his teammates. So, but yeah, it was an important day for Ashwin to maybe stand up, and unfortunately he had one of his poorer days on this tour.
I mean, in some strange ways, Melinda Farrell, he would hope that Moeen Ali doesn't run through India's batting in this 4th innings. Otherwise, the judgment would be even harsher, you'd think. I'm sure even those in the press box would have observed, what's Ashwin doing? We thought he'd run through England or at least give them more problems at the end of day 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ashwin is an incredible bowler, and there's no doubting about that. I know he gets his critics overseas, but he is a brilliant bowler. I think some people felt that maybe he's got so many arrows in his quiver, that he's got so many variations, that he was perhaps trying to bring them out a little bit here, whereas the difference with Moeen Ali, he doesn't have the same variations that Ashwin was, but he was just able to basically use his stock ball and put it in the right place, and that was kind of doing enough. But I mean, I think he'll come back, Ashwin, for sure, and make his mark. But yesterday, I suppose it was such a pivotal day in the series where it was, and it has throughout this match in particular. I mean, this is obviously must win for India to give themselves a chance of winning the series. But I know that Nick and Ajit talking about the new ball bowlers. For me, it'll be interesting too to just see how the spinners do come back into it. Whether Moeen has as much success in the final innings, or whether Adil Rashid will really come in and play his part. He's the first spinner, but he's kind of taken a bit of a back seat to Moeen. He hasn't done a huge amount in this series, but he has got the wicket of Virat Kohli, and man, if he can come back and do that in the final series when final innings when India are chasing, then I think people will feel that he's done enough. But so far, Moeen's looked like the best spinner in the game.
Right, Mel, it is Graham Langford, our camera person's birthday, so I'm going to give you an early exit. But before you go, why don't you give me the number that you have in mind? That could very well be decisive. 233, 260, 270? At what point do you think this game swings either way?
It's meaningless, of course, so I'm going to pluck a number out of the air, and if I get it right, I expect you to buy me a present, Ranak. So I'm going to say that 268 will be enough.
It's Graham's birthday, and yet you expect the present. Melinda Farrell, you're a greedy person, right? Get on the job that we really appreciate you doing outside the Ageas Bowl. Melinda Farrell, correspondent for ESPN Cricinfo reporter. Right, let's keep the conversation running. The thorn for India, time and time again, is Sam Curran.
Yeah, just incredible. Who would have thought at the start of the series I mean, just the maturity that he's showing every time he plays. I think the only bowler who felt like troubling him yesterday was Shami. Everyone else just plays the right shot to the right ball. I mean, even Ashwin, for someone who's not faced a lot of spin bowling, and Ashwin's a top bowler. So just look comfortable. Played the right shot, played on the back foot. It amazes me how in a couple of tests someone feels at home at test level. Yeah, okay, batting, his first job is to bowl, and he's playing as a bowling all-rounder at the moment, but clearly, I mean, if he wasn't there, India's life would have been so much easier.
Nick, I don't know if you noticed in that innings yesterday, a drive of Jasprit Bumrah where he actually bowled that outswinger to the right-hander, the one that comes into the lefty, that troubled Keaton Jennings in the first innings. And here you have Sam Curran almost playing it, had used his wrist, played it through mid-off. He watches this ball very closely, even from a bowler who's as tricky as Bumrah. There's not just ability, there's a lot of skill here.
Yeah, I think Joss Buttler nailed it on the head yesterday when he spoke about Sam Curran. Of course, he's a good player, he's got some skills, but I think it's the temperament. It's being so much more mature than his actual years, and I think that's what's really stood out. You see a lot of players come into the international fold, and you can see some that just belong there. And Sam Curran looks like someone who's, not overawed by the occasion. In terms of his batting, well, I don't think he could be in better form. I mean, it's always easy to analyse players when they're out of form and compared when they're in form. And clearly he's picking up the ball very early. I mean, he's seeing Bumrah's swing. The back foot drives, for me, have been imperious, especially when the ball's swinging and bouncing. He's managed to control those shots very, very well and has hardly played a false shot. And I just think the simplicity of his game, he's got a nice little tight technique. And he just looks like he's really comfortable. And I think it's, let's look back to maybe where he's come from, Surrey. I think Alex Stewart's done a great job with the Surrey team. They're producing some good cricketers, and they play, of course, on a very, very good pitch at the Oval, which, of course, we'll see next week.
Right, well, there's a lot of resilience that's coming through from this lower order, which includes Sam Curran and Ben Stokes and Joss Buttler that kept India at bay in the final session yesterday. Buttler did shed some light when he spoke to the media.
Enjoy batting, right left-hand combination, trying to rotate strike and not let bowlers settle, and we just went about it the same way, trying to build a partnership, always looking at the lead, trying to slowly and steadily just keep building that, and try and extend a partnership as long as you can. Yeah, can do. Someone played a lot of cricket with anyway, so we've batted together in quite a lot of situations in different formats. So it's nice to have a nice rapport with someone in the middle, and I think that is obviously comforting in a way, and allows you to each keep on top of each other and get the best out of each other. Seeing the wear and tear in the wickets, it's obviously spun even in the first innings as well. There's quite a bit of rough outside the right-handers off stump, so that's promising for Moeen and Adil. And I think with the seamers we've obviously seen a bit of invariable bounce, so I think it's nice to have the runs on the board.
Seems like too nice a guy sometimes, Joss Buttler, just everything nice, bit of a smile on him. But this game could come down to, Ajit, the difference in the middle order resilience. India far more reliant on Kohli Pujara, and then the minute, say, Ajinkya Rahane comes in, there's a bit of a worry as to what's to follow. We've seen the value of middle order resilience. Could this game come down to that?
Yeah, I mean, and the top as well. I think India's got slightly better starts, not big starts, but slightly better starts than England, and they still struggled. Pujara, thankfully Pujara's got runs under his belt. Other guys will have to stand up, even if it's small contributions, small partnerships in this. You can't expect, it'd be great for India if Pujara and Kohli have a 150 run partnership, but you can't expect that. I think the other guys have to chip in. I think there were too many sort of soft dismissals in the first innings. Everyone's got to put a price on their wicket, the next time they bat, starting from the top.
Yeah, there would be some butterflies in, say, Hardik Pandya, Rishabh Pant, that sort of middle order, because that if this goes to Edgbaston or becomes like Edgbaston fourth innings, Nick, they could come in to do a job at a time where Moeen Ali is bowling on a day 4 page, maybe early day 5, depending on how this game goes. Is that something that could be decisive in this game, looking at where the game stands?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it always comes down, though, to the experienced players, the likes of Pujara. Can he build another foundation for the others to bat around. You know, can he spend longer out there, make it more difficult for England, start putting a few nerves in their camp? But I think the way that Pandya and Rishabh Pant have to come out there, I think they've got to be positive. You know, you saw how Rishabh Pant, they bowled very well at him, didn't they, in the first innings, and he struggled. I don't think they've got anything to lose, and that's the best way, I think, for them as young players, young exciting players, to come out. If they start hitting a few shots, you know, get a few attacking shots away, I tell you, as an England team, you'd start to be worrying. But if they're pushing and prodding, I think that really plays into England's hands. They need to be bold, they need to be positive, they need to play with that flair that's got them in the team, and I think that's when they're at their most dangerous. But that, of course, can't happen unless you've got the foundations that have been set up by the experienced players. And Pujara, another big day for him. Shame he played so well in the first innings. Very hard to back it up twice in a row in the game, but any time he spends at the crease is good for India.
I think it's an extension of that chat that we actually discussed how India should play Moeen Ali. Assuming these 2 wickets fall reasonably quickly in the first session, there could very well be a case for Moeen Ali to come in quite early for Alistair Cook. Shikhar Dhawan's that kind of player too. We've spoken of Pant. How would you like to see India play Moeen?
Look, I mean, I don't think Rahul and Shikhar got to play him, but I don't think Shikhar will change his game. He'll still be attacking. Naturally,
it's almost quietly think that Shikhar Dhawan will be a big player if he bats long enough
yeah,
as a left-hander.
In general, even if he plays against the seamers, he tends to hit boundaries. Whether he sort of nicks them or he is going to play a shot if he feels the ball's there to be hit. So he could end up being key for India. But Moeen, I feel Moeen is going to be a handful with that rough and the pace that he bowls. It's how the right-handers negotiate, and India's got a lot of them, except for Pant and Shikhar at the moment. Everyone's a right-hander. Virat and Pujara, even though they were set, were a little bit worried when Moeen came on to bowl. So it could be, it's just how you ride the storm and not lose any scoring opportunities. So once you keep the scoreboard moving, the pressure is always going to keep coming back on England, and there'll be less catches around the bat.
Throwback to 2014 and maybe a bit in the first innings too, Nick. India's defensive technique against Moeen Ali, or against spin in general, but specifically Moeen Ali, is something that they're slightly insecure about. Now on a day 4 pitch, I'm sure they're already thinking about it. But if they don't trust their defence, is there another way that you suggest a number of the Indian batsmen, not just the middle and lower middle order, tackle Moeen?
Yeah, I think they've got to be proactive. I think when Moeen's not bowled very well, and he's not always been in form, he's come back into form now. But I think when he hasn't bowled that well, players have attacked him. I'd say attacking in a smart sense, of course, using your feet, getting down the wicket to him. He doesn't have the variations of an Ashwin, we know that, and maybe that's why he's bowled so well in the first innings, because he's managed to bowl more consistent, his main stock ball more consistently. But I think in the second innings, particularly when you're chasing a score, you have to be proactive, because if Moeen gets on top and a new batsman comes in, it's going to be very difficult. We know that the pitch is obviously going to start turning more and more, but players need to get on top of him. I thought Pujara played him very well in the first innings, used his feet, hit him through the offside even. And that's the type of thing that I think these Indian batsmen need to do from the offset. If they can get on top of Moeen Ali, it brings the seamers, the ageing seamers, back into the attack even earlier.
Right. Now, so much technique talk. One man who writes a lot about it is Nagaraj Golapudi, Deputy Editor of ESPN Cricinfo. You've read a lot about him on the site. You might have even seen him on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday through the course of this series. We actually decided that Naga needs to now walk the walk instead of just talking it. So, we had a couple of greats analyze his batting when he visited the MCC Centre. Have a look.
I'm here at the MCC Cricket Academy at Lord's to get my batting tested with the help of the ProTar app and former England coach Peter Moores and the legendary Michael Holding. Bring it on. Oops.
So well done, Naga. Very brave of you to put yourself forward.
So one of the basics is balance. So if your head's outside your body before you start outside your toes, the chances are you might fall over the ball. So then you'd forward it and say, let's see if he does fall over. If he does, there's something we see in the programme a lot, is your right leg comes over to the offside. There. So we see that. The right foot comes over, so you're not balanced. A couple of basics of balance and alignment going towards the bowler are like fundamentals you can't disobey. I don't think. I'm yet to find a batter that can. But to pass that on to somebody, and if it helps your game, Fantastic.
I thought batting was easy. I'm very keen on knowing from one man, Mr. Holding, what he thinks, because when I walked in, he sledged me and he said, "This is not for you. What are you doing here? Don't do it. Don't go into bat."
Naga, at 60 miles an hour, you're looking okay. As soon as the pace started to step up a bit, you're totally lost.
I faced 2 balls.
Too many. You did not even get close to getting bat on ball. Don't go back.
Catch the best of the England-India series on ESPN Cricinfo. Match highlights, clips, and the best moments. Download the app now for a better experience.
Good to still have you on ESPN Cricinfo Match Day. Before we went into break, we showed you that feature of ESPN Cricinfo's Nagaraj Golapuri visiting the MCC Academy and Michael Holding having some very simple words to say.
Maybe it's that long hair which is making him fall over, you know, the balance.
So
Needs a haircut.
Isn't it so much easier just writing and talking than playing? But we'll leave
I
that.
didn't say it.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it. Yeah, I have to. We'll leave that chat there. Let's have the chat about the first session. Let's quickly wrap up what we want to discuss about England's last 2 wickets. Kohli's use of his bowlers, you criticised yesterday just how he managed them. How would you like him to start today to make sure this lead doesn't go any bigger?
Well, I mean, Shami and Bumrah have to start, isn't it? I don't think you need to fall into a trap of the pitch is spun a little bit and all that.
We went to that trap of 35 overs yesterday.
We've seen Stuart Broad's not the batsman that he was early on in his career. Doesn't enjoy getting behind pace. I mean, try and keep Sam Curran off strike if you can. If get him out firstly. I think India will wrap this up quickly. Shami was bowling well enough even to Sam Curran yesterday. And although he's been a bit of a pain for India, that wicket was really handy in that last over of Fadil Rashid. That might just help India.
Right. If India are to wrap this up early, they already have a mountain to climb with 233. Crunch the numbers. I'm sure you've already been curious overnight to see what are India's best chases in England, their successful chases in England. And you know that we're already in uncharted territory. 1971 is when we have to go back for their 173, and we're already well past that. This, of course, is a different pitch to what Lords and the Oval usually are at this time of year. We have to go to double digits for a third highest successful run chase. We're just looking at numbers that tell us that it is uncharted territory. And if we extend the conversation to even outside of England, you know that since a particular test match that happened in 2003 in Adelaide that Ajit Agarkar might remember, India have in matches where they've had to score 200 plus outside Asia, they have never managed to do it in 20 occasions. They've lost 13, they've drawn 7. I don't know how much history means at this point, Nick Compton, because this is the team that likes to put its chest out. They've got Ravi Shastri saying even now that they're the best team in the world, 2-1 trailing and whatnot. But this is a great opportunity to actually add some substance to all that chat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these records are there to be broken, and I think if there's one player out there who would like to do something special, it's Virat Kohli. He hasn't come here to just have a nice time in England. He's come here to really take on the English, to really bring on this Indian team, and you've seen that with the way that the bowlers have bowled, the way he's performed, and I think the players are slowly growing in confidence. Look, never say never. I said that anything above 200 would be very difficult. Anything above 230 I thought was slightly out of reach, and I think 250 is a winning total. But you know what, the wicket is a bit slow. There is pressure on the likes of Moeen Ali, who's bowled well in the first innings. Can he repeat that in the second innings? That's a big question mark. So, look, in many ways for the Test series, it would be great if it was 2-2 going into that final Test match. But I think England's experienced campaign is really important this morning.
What about the kind of bowlers? We know Moeen Ali will be big, but who else do India need to keep an eye out for? Sometimes when you're focusing on Moeen Ali, someone else might run through you. Jimmy Anderson was wicketless in the first innings. It's a slower pitch than what it was. Anyone else that might be effective on this pitch?
Yeah, I think Jimmy Anderson's your go-to bowler, wicketless in the first innings. Again, it comes down to wanting your experienced bowlers to stand up. I know Stuart Broad got 3 wickets in the first innings. He bowled quite nicely. You'd expect those two to come hard, but I guess in the first session of the first innings, the 2 opening bowlers perhaps didn't make the Indian batsmen play enough. So if the Indian batsman can get off to a good start, someone like KL Rahul who's due a score, maybe this will be an opportunity for him to just free up a little bit and go, you know what, he has a chance for me to show my talent, play my shots, and actually get us to a good stronghold. If he can get 40 or 50 and do that quite quickly, then I think it really breaks the back of that opening partnership. But I would say those 2 experienced campaigners are the ones to watch out. They're your match winners. They're the ones who've done it for years.
This kind of
I think to me, Broad might be a key guy here. I think just because he's tall, the way he bowls, it's a bit dry. Rolls his finger over the ball. We saw Ishan did it a couple of times and it did grip the surface. We'll find out. I think taller bowlers, as the game progresses, somehow start to become a little bit more difficult. If there is any sort of variable bounce, they are the ones who will most likely to extract it. Jimmy Anderson, again, don't quite know when the pitch is slowed down whether he'll be just as effective. He'll keep the pressure on, but England would need wickets regularly.
And probably chat for later in the day, but if the ball reverses, that's when Stuart Broad becomes big again.
Yeah, that's why I said Stokes. If Stokes can bowl a couple of spells, I think he's the guy that could make a difference for England and India at that point. We don't quite know whether he's going to be bowling in the second innings.
He can bowl on one leg and still get a wicket or 2. Thank you, Ajit Agarkar. Nick Compton, this session will in many ways dictate the chat that whether the series is alive or not. Let's see how it goes. Let's first see if India can wrap up those 2 wickets. Quickly join us for the lunchtime show on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.